Hi, this is Sarah from sarayip.com, Facebook, the numbers queen, and Instagram, sarayip1111. This is going to be a massive interview. I am interviewing my teacher, Tony Riley, and she has been one of my mentors for many, many lifetimes. And I have always been a very troublesome student. However, also a very grateful one. So welcome, Tony.
Hello, Sarah. You're so not troublesome, but it's lovely to be on here with you.
Thank you. And see, even just in that, I'm like, oh, she's such a nice person. So super excited to have Tony here, our first interview together this lifetime. We met, I think, in a fairly unusual way. I'm pretty sure I did a maths workshop with Brian Weiss.
Yes.
And I remember standing up and talking to him and feeling like he had such a beautiful heart. He talked straight to me out of like hundreds of people. And I think people started crying when we started talking about witches and things. And I'm pretty sure I would have then found you because you studied with him and I don't know if you'd call it his representative, but you're one of the top past life regression people in Australia.
Yes.
And so I'm pretty sure I would have Googled you and then gone, let's start at number one. And then I think I offered you a swap because I was like a really bankrupt palm reader back then. And you were so gracious to say yes. And I went to your very beautiful house and it all began, didn't it?
It did. It began. It was in 2011.
It was such a long time. So that was the beginning of my journey. And I have come a really long way since then. But I always remember meeting you. It was this very defining moment. So let's talk about your numbers. So we discovered early on, didn't we, that we both love numerology.
Yes.
So we had this common lingo, which does bring people closer and create so much forgiveness in the planet. Yeah. Now, based on your date of birth, which we're keeping private, you're a 23/5 life path. So that's from adding up your date of birth left to right in this system. So the chakras and numerology for me are very closely linked. So a lot of healing in this lifetime around the throat area, which of course is also the ears and the teeth and all those senses. So can you relate to the idea of really needing to bring forth your voice and actually express yourself and even that wild side a bit more this lifetime?
Sarah, you're making me think of this in a new way even now. My goodness, I even can remember having problems with my ears. When I was 5, I had an operation.
Well, that's your childhood turning point. Wow.
I had, what are they called? Grommets or something.
Oh, interesting.
And adenoids, which is the nose thing. I had them out. I never thought of that until right now.
Oh, my goodness.
So that happened when I was 5.
Wow.
My voice, Sarah, I actually do have nodules on my what's that bit that controls our
like the voice box? Because I work with like thousands of people and I have this photographic computer brain thing. And a lot of 5s do have actual like tangible physical things around their thyroid, which of course is the throat chakra. And they often get stressed that means they're not on their purpose. But actually that's why you would have chosen the purpose, is there is a lot of clearing to do. So it's actually really good that you're aware of it and it's not just running you, without you being looking after it. So it's good that at least you're aware of it.
It's good to be aware of it for sure. It's still I think it still overcomes me sometimes and it's a little bit out of my control, or certainly it has been. But one thing I learned I've learned lots from you, but one thing that's key in my memory is you asked me when I was attending one of your courses, you asked me about, it was the first time I realized that our number before the 5, and in my case 23, was the turning point age.
Which I learned off another numerologist, and it's the benefit, of course, of shopping around a bit and being really open, because it's the type of technology, it needs to be shared to reach its potential.
Yeah.
It just hates to be shut in a cage. Like it really needs to be like roaming.
That was a critical information I felt. So I'll never forget it. But when you asked me what happened for me at that age, I realized, it came straight to me actually. I realized that was when I started to become or oppress myself. I know that I did it to myself, but I stopped. I'm quite I'm going to say loud. I'm quite a raucous person and I love a chat. So, and my husband, and I married when I was 24.
That's so interesting, because that's just after the turning point.
Yeah, that's right. We met when I was 20, but around that time when I was 23, when I reflected back, I realized that I had started to curb who I was to fit in, because he was he's very lovely. He was born on 11/11, actually.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I have so many people who are on my books or have come in who are born 11/11, and they always ask me what it means, and I just am like, it would take me a whole lifetime to explain, but you're in the right place. I can help you.
Phenomenal, isn't it? So he was maybe if I could say, I was extroverted and he was introverted. Yeah. So I really calmed down and fit into his extroversion. And also, I'm not really a worrying person. I'm just not. And he was. So you can get caught under that. So that's what I realized happened very deeply around the time I was 23. And of course, it continued through our marriage, which was, well, we were together for 16 years.
Wow.
And, by the time I left, I felt so oppressed and so not myself. And it was like, oh my goodness, I felt like I was able to get my voice back, but it still plagued me even after.
Can I ask, what was his life path?
6.
Oh, so what's 5 plus 6?
11. Yes, I know, isn't it?
So you had a really strong contract then, of course. An 11 compatibility relationship attracts the spotlight, brings up all your stuff, shows you where there's any issues of inequality or equality, especially with gender roles.
Yeah.
It's a big relationship. Often you end up talking about it, or it ends up being the catalyst for things. So, and then of course the difference being a 1 between the 5 and 6 means, chalk and cheese, total chalk and cheese, especially with all those, just 11/11 alone. There's so much energy in that with the root chakra. And of course, if they're not basically outdoors with that kind of energy, it's very stressful for them to try to fit in.
Yes. Yeah. And because I wasn't awake then, not even a little bit, certainly not consciously. And it was really intense energy to be around.
Oh, totally.
I didn't even realize I was so sensitive at all then. So yeah, it's been really interesting to find out after. But I think, as I see the 11 as here to leave a message, or the messenger. So they're here to leave a legacy. And I think from that end, that couple, or us as a couple being 11, I wrote about our relationship in depth in my book from my perspective. So and I called it, the book's called Awake, the Purpose of Life. So that's what I tried to demonstrate, how these everyday things that we go through and experience is the purpose of life. So he's a massive part in that, whether he's active or not. I've written about us. So
well, I'm sure at a soul level there's a lot of gratitude. Sometimes we don't sort of experience that in the outer world, but I feel like we always kind of know in our hearts whether it was that right thing to do. I can certainly relate. So I had my big breakup on the 11th of the 11th 11, and that would have been pretty soon before I met you. And I thought I was awake, but I definitely wasn't. I was totally sleepwalking and a danger to machinery. I'm very grateful that I got kind of swept up into this beautiful group of counselors and psychics and healers, because I imagine I may have been put on some pretty heavy medication, and you may never have heard about me again, because I was super angry by that point. And I thought that was okay, that anger was natural, especially if there'd been like infidelity and stuff. But now I look at it and I think I was just I was pretty toxic, actually. Anyway, so I'm super grateful that I got picked up basically by these angels, and I do feel like you're in that cohort. So that's amazingly grateful. So thank you for being very honest. So basically at your life path turning point, there was something here where you made some decisions. And a lot of your life path is about experiencing sort of extremes and then finding that middle way, which is similar to 11s in some aspects.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of, not everyone realizes this, but you can reduce names, words, business names, street addresses to frequencies, which I love to do. I just have been doing that forever. And so 23 is a really powerful energy. So it's actually the vibration of life. It's one of the most potent frequencies in the whole of numerology. There's actually a belief that 23 fives are one of the most protected of all the life paths. Of course, they're all wonderful in their own ways, but 23's got this resonance with Shiva, with life, with Apple, which of course is, that whole start of the Garden of Eden. I think the word learn. And so I find I've kind of quite a lot of 23/5 teachers, especially Fiona, who taught me comedy. They have a very light touch. It's literally like if life was a person and it came to you and it said, try this. That's literally how Fiona talks, actually. She's just like, have a go at this. And I'll be like, I somehow felt like I just did a PhD in something as you said that. So what I like about you is you do a lot with just sort of just this gentle reassurance. And I think I've misunderstood that in the past. I'm like, why is she so hands-off? I don't get it. It doesn't feel like love. To me, love is totally like interfering. I'm Asian, we're used to helicopter plus parenting. But over time, and I have this theory, the truth sticks around. And you've stayed, haven't you? We've stayed in contact.
Yes, we have.
And I hope, that will only get deeper. But yeah, the truth always sticks around.
Yeah. I like
That's been an amazing experience. I'd love to talk about what I've studied with you.
Oh.
So I would never have expected studying past life regression with you would have been so monumental. But honestly, I think it is hands down probably the best thing I've ever studied. I did really enjoy holistic counseling, but the past life stuff, the fact that I could take it home, the fact that I could use it for so many situations, it is literally the thing I'm most grateful for. I'm so grateful for that because I did it, as you know, I believe I was pregnant with Forrest, my first son, and I'm sure he had something to do with it. So I was in my personal 9 year, which is all about the end of a cycle, rewriting history, and a lot of 9 energy is about releasing the past, transforming it. It even looks like a little fern frond growing up. And I had no idea, we just did that 5-day course, but even just in that first regression, if I could maybe share a little bit, which I've written on my website. So I was a young boy and I was a messenger in either Greece or Rome, I think Greece. And my mother loved me so much, but she was the only one because I was totally a freak. I had this like forked tongue thing. And I don't know if I told you this because obviously you were busy teaching. And so I couldn't talk in the regression.
Oh.
So the lady facilitating me, I would just grunt and drool. And then I would stop and I would be like, this is what he meant. And of course, as a skeptic, I felt like I was possessed. I mean, I just didn't know if I really believed in all this stuff. And then I'm having this experience where I could feel the malfunction and even see, you can see it's coming back now, the deformity in his mouth.
Right.
So what they would do is they would use him to deliver messages because they knew he couldn't interfere with them. So he would just kind of bring the messages. And because he was a freak, I think nobody ever bothered him.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, one day he got, I don't know, he did the wrong thing or they just took a dislike to him and they killed him. And I remember going through the death and being like, they killed me. I'm just trying to help them. And I could totally relate to that in this lifetime. The number of times, environmental activism, charity work, fundraising, being a psychic. And I go out there and I'm just like, this is amazing. And they're like, burn witch, which you can probably relate to, right?
Yeah.
On some level. And I'm just like, why are they not Care Bears like me? And then in the second regression, because you obviously don't just do past lives, you do, there's present life work, which is incredible. And then, of course, life between lives, which was mind-blowing. So I went to my life between lives, which is basically my heaven place where I go. And I was thinking angels, harps, marshmallows, green fields. And it was just this big bear, like a stuffed toy. And then, of course, my friend gave me one, which was hilarious. But it was just this big bear and it just went, hello. And it just got off me. And I thought, oh, yeah, keep it simple. And I don't know if that sounds simplistic, but, I'd done so much years of work on myself, but just those were like 20-minute sessions. But I just knew they were true. And even when I tell them, I feel so strong in myself, like totally bulletproof, invincible, eternal. So I was able to then, of course, go forwards and transmit that to my clients, the way I gave birth, the way I would, helped Chris, because I helped him to transition into psychics. It gave me so much confidence. So I'm so grateful it was you who did it, because you were so hands off. And I've seen people do past lives where they interfere and they get in there and they go, and so this is what it means. Make sure you go and ask this. And I'm just like, stop, you're ruining the painting.
I think that's probably the key difference with the regression, and I think it's why it works so well, is we facilitate it, and then we'll teach people to facilitate it so that they're not interfering. It's the critical teaching factor to not interfere.
It's so difficult to teach, because you think that you have to earn your money by getting in there and getting dirty and like washing up. And then, of course, you totally destroy their experience. You destroy it. They come out of it, and it's as bad as, I hear a lot of people say, oh yeah, I had a past life reading. She just told me all this stuff that I'd done. And I'm like, and they said, yeah, I didn't feel anything. I didn't even know if it was true. And I went, oh, that's like getting a massage like this.
Yeah,
you're all done now. Did you enjoy that?
It
pretty powerful for that to work.
There's no doubt that people can see other people's past lives, but I think from a therapeutic perspective, for it to work and to make our now better, then the person has to connect with their soul. And that's what I actually think is happening and why it works. The person who's undergoing the process, the regression or the recall process, their soul's giving them what they need right then and there in the way that they need to receive it or see it or interpret it. Although past lives are literal, so they'll see what happens. But I think that's why it's powerful, and I think that's probably why the training is so maybe surprising, but also very powerful, because we're teaching people almost to butt out. But how? Because you do have to facilitate, because you're in charge in a way, but also not. So it's about reading that person and going with them, because they're getting from their soul so much more powerful information than what we could give as a therapist. So basically the therapist is backed out, and the person who's having the regression, their ego or their will, their consciousness is also in the back end a bit, and the soul comes in and gives them what they need.
Yeah, my teeth are buzzing, which means there's so much spirit in the room. I'm sure people watching this will get the goosies. It's so interesting, because the New Age industry is highly unregulated, that, the marketing and the hype, just in order to sort of make it look like you're worth what you're charging. But less is more. And what I love is when you teach, you say things like, you get what you get. That's your big thing, isn't it? You get what you get.
Yeah.
And I think in a dodgy person's hands, that could be a way of getting away with silliness, but definitely that's not the case with you. I feel like it's changed the way I live. Even when I gave birth to my son, I was so frightened of ever having children. I always felt they would die. I have a lot of birthmarks, and I always felt like I died in childbirth, and I literally put off till 35. When I finally had Forrest, I was doing past life work with him, in the pregnancy, and then as soon as he was born, and I could see lives where I had left him. It was so sad, and I cried and cried. And it's interesting, when he was born, like initially I thought, oh, he'll be so happy to see me and da-da-da. But then when I did the past life, I was like, unfinished business. So he came out, it was a bit of a struggle. And I was thinking, I'll say I'll say welcome to Earth, Om Shanti, spray some incense, essential oils. But no, he came out and he pooed all over me with all that meconium black stuff. And he screamed and he was so angry. And I looked at him and I went, yes. And then I said, no photos, thanks. And so we did a lot of chatting over maybe the next 6 weeks, and he would just vibe me and we would clear up. And I said, like, I'm really sorry I left you in the igloo. I have a bad sense of direction even now. I really didn't mean to do that. And we are on stellar terms now. We constantly talk about all the different dimensions. I just think, for me as a parent, what a tool, because I can just go straight into my soul, and it's better than a reading.
It is.
I mean, I still enjoy all the things I do, palmistry, numerology, tarot, but the soul work for me is very cleansing. I come back and I actually feel like incredibly vibrant. I feel younger. But it's interesting. I find I can only do it sometimes. And I think that's what you taught us. You taught us is you can't just have it on tap. It's when the soul also feels that it's the right time.
I think it's because, I believe it's because our mission, I believe that each time we're here, our mission is, there's a plan, and we are doing certain things in a certain trajectory. So at the time that we do our soul work, or we seek out regression, which is essentially soul work, anything like that, it's all in the trajectory of our life map or our outline. And that's why, as much as we might want it on tap, once we discover it, it's like, no, you're here to do the dirty work, if you like, as a person living life. And it's messy and it's beautiful as well, but it can get tough. So, but I think that's what happens. And then at the time when we're due to have a turning point or have some awakening, then something presents to us that or we get to do the soul work. We get to, if we're aware of it and we can access it, it accesses, and there we go.
I love the feeling of safety that I got in your course and through this work. I felt very held. I don't always feel that in psychic readings, but I do feel it when I'm doing past life work. I have actually put it on hold at the moment just because of time, having 3 under 6, but it was interesting because I worked so hard to develop my clairvoyance, being able to see and hear. And I often felt like psychic readings is not the only reason I have that. I do feel it's also to keep an eye on my little munchkins. Yeah. But when I did the regressions, I was amazed. Yeah, when they would go in, I could see what they were seeing. And I thought, this is worth the price of admission. Like, this is the best sticky beak experience in the whole world. And I'd be like, don't say anything. Don't tell them what to do. They'll be like, I'm in a jungle. I'd be like, yeah, see the coconuts. And you mentioned that to us. Remember, you said when you're psychic, you have to actually take extra special care. And I thought, wow, that is such the best advice ever, because it's true, isn't it? It's even more tempting to show off and be like, I know what I'm doing.
But you know what? There's power in it, because when you can see, it's make you an extraordinary therapist, because the only thing that you need to remember is to prompt them. So we never tell them anything, and we don't lead them, but we can prompt them like, is there this or is there that, or are you this or are you that? And then always in regression, the person, they never lie. So if we get it wrong, or if we assume as a facilitator, they'll be like, no, that's not how I feel, or no, it wasn't that. That is so much the truth. And I found that has also helped me, like in my daily life, to just trust that the person knows what's best for themselves, and to stop second guessing other people. It's been beyond words helpful to me, and I'm so glad I came across it. And I also went back, didn't I? I flew my friend down to mind the baby, and I came down to Melbourne, and I hate the cold, and I came in the middle of winter, and I didn't even leave the building for 3 days. I was so frightened of going outside, but I came for you and the group, and I'm glad I did, because we had all these amazing pops. I had my last lifetime come up, how the one just before this one, and I'd always wondered if I was a boy, and I was definitely a boy, and I had this thing with sneakers, which I also have in this lifetime. But there was a lot of stuff, and look, all I can say is it has filled the gaps in my life, which I had been wondering about since I was pretty much born. And I'm sure there are many ways to do it, but it's just very clean, very quick. And even nowadays, when I'm feeling pretty down or draggy, I'll just put myself in that trance with the bubble and the processes you use, and I'll put myself under it. Sometimes they come in and just do a healing on me. Yes.
But often they'll show me back through memories and just remind me how far I've come. Yes. So I feel like it opened a door that will be forever open in this lifetime. And I can tell you for sure it has 10 times the work I do, because I am very clear on what's my stuff. Yeah. I'm like, yep, that's from that life. Yep, that's from that. It's like I know where I bought that.
Yes.
So I can refund it if needed. So I hope that made sense. I feel like I babbled a bit.
Oh, not at all. I think it's key, really, because I think Or my belief is when we're working with people, whether we're reading cards or we're doing regression, we're counseling, no matter what we're doing, if we're working with people, I think if we don't know our own shit, if we don't know our own stuff, and we all have it, we're all here doing life. So we absolutely have our own stuff. So it's key and important that we know it so that we don't, without even meaning to, place it on other people. So, and I think that's what I guess that's what the key to this training that I developed is. It's like, here we are, as you say, in an unregulated industry. And in some ways, I feel like dysregulation is a good thing in that it gives a chance to evolve into something else.
Well, you have to be psychic to find a good psychic. I think that's quite hilarious, really.
Of course, you've got to follow your intuition, right?
Yeah, and then the consequences are pretty black and white.
And then also, if something's been said that doesn't sit right, then you have to trust that and then let it go to the side. And even if it's years later that you come back and it presents again. But I think definitely our intuition is key no matter what we're doing.
So thanks. It's like you showed me kind of how to get into the library, and then I can then do future stuff where I talk to my future self. I talk to myself on the day that I pass in this lifetime. She's hilarious. I love her so much. And she's totally like, that is not a problem. Just like, let it go. Let go, Sarah. It's not important. Like fighting with this grandmother version of me. And even say I want to access a resource, I would love this skill, public speaking, whatever. I'll go in and say, okay, so show me a life where I was amazing at that. And sometimes they give it to me, sometimes they don't, as you know, with the training. But it's just such a fabulous healing modality. And I hope that people have understood a little bit of the power of it. I think what's great also is you don't have to be psychic to be good at it. I've had plenty of fantastic regressions with brand new people who just followed the process very faithfully. In fact, sometimes they were the best ones because they were just so clear with the instructions and they didn't change them too much. And I felt very guided.
Yes, I feel like that too, that sometimes with the regression, the less that people know, the better. I guess there's big expectations. There's no expectations. Yeah. It's good. And it takes people by surprise as well. Do you always come out though? They always come out the other side of a session or training as well, just like blown away, but of a session even, and just feel lighter. It's I love the fact that you do work with kids and teenagers, and I feel like that gave me the courage to work with my kids on it. And I love the fact that it's you can feel when the soul has a boundary. And so it's nice to imagine that my kids have these groups of spirits protecting them and I don't have to constantly stress about them. And now I see them and I see kind of the football team around them, and I find they have much better childhoods as a result. Yeah. It's just good to remember that they're just a smaller version of an adult. They're not necessarily like this helpless vegetable like I used to think kids were. Oh, but Sarah, isn't that... They're just like emerging, really. As an Aquarian, I am too. So as Aquarians, our parenting, whether we know it's going to be like that before, even if we gave it a thought, I think by nature are inclined to allow our kids to be who they are. So it's not by chance that your kids end up with you as their mom. Well, we're all Aquarians except for one. He's a Virgo. We're not sure what happened, but he's a hoot. We love him very much. But yes, we're all Aquarians born in the same small space of time. And we're all monkeys too. We're like Aquarian monkeys, which is the naughtiest of all of them. That's so cool. With the Virgo, I associate that with, in the numerology life map system that I did, I reckon that's the 33. Oh, wow, really? I do. That's interesting. That's my association with it, as close as I can get it when I'm trying to match them up. There are quite a few astronumerologists. I haven't gone into it myself because I have this strong preference for palmistry. But Charlie is a 3, and he is, that's interesting because I call 33 the master healers and whistleblowers. That is very apt for him. So when he came out
basically I was, giving birth, and I thought, oh, geez, I need some reason to motivate myself because this is work. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to read his hand. I'm going to motivate myself with this image of his cute little hand coming out going, hey, and no poo this time. And so he did come out, and then he had this massive, humanitarian cross in his hand. And I thought, oh my God, best gift ever. And since he was little, even when he was breastfeeding, he would put his hand on my heart and give me Reiki. And he is the most caring child. So yes, I can relate to that, and I just learned something new. So see what happens when we chat.
Yeah. And Sarah, you know what's interesting is my youngest works with me, and she is a 3 as well. She's a Scorpio 3.
Is she the one who just had a birthday?
Yes, yesterday.
I was just about to say, something I've never talked to you about. Children have turning points at their parents' life path ages.
Oh, see, and she's 22.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So she's going to have some pretty extraordinary things happen in the next year or so.
It's amazing, Sarah. And I know that your boys are the same. And I think that something with this work that is transpiring for us is because those kids are so different to everybody else with the 1 and 9 energy.
100%.
It's almost like the psychology needs to be rewritten for them. I guess the sensitives such as us were the minority in our generations, whereas now the new kids will be all sensitive like us, and there'll be a minority of ones with the practical of
the 9. Yes, that's right. And so they're easily hurt, but they're also easily healed. And that's, I think, one thing that people don't realize with empaths. There's a lot of this mythology that you pick up everyone's energy. And I'm like, yes, but you also pick up everyone's energy. So if you're around people who are incredible, you just go, boom, hello, I'm back.
That's such a beautiful thing to say, because I guess the way I try and put it is to say they're emotionally intelligent, young. Sometimes when they're a tiny little kid.
So basically they can read people, which is hilarious because, of course, we've all had to spend lots of money learning that. Yeah. And they just come pre-set.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's a fun, I think it's more than a fun time to be alive. It's an extraordinary time to be alive.
I say this to people because I do forecasts for a living. So, almost every day I'm doing 12-month forecasts. I'm doing global forecasts. And people say, oh, gosh, like, for example, when I fell pregnant with Ziggy last year, just as COVID stuff started, someone said to me in my family, why would you have a child? This is the worst possible time to have a child. And I said, imagine how few job vacancies there are. Imagine the whopper of an amazing angel I'm going to get, the bravest of them all. Of course, we call him Ziggy Lionheart. And he's so spectacular. And I'm like, we totally wanted you, it was a pretty big choice to make that at the time. But we knew, like, with less places opening, there would be competition and we would get something good. And also, I said I do forecasts for a living. I remember my relative said, who do you think you are, having a child with COVID? Everybody else is trying to save money. And I said, I'm a psychic. I love the future. And I also said, look at the kids who are coming to Earth. People like that don't come for no reason. They obviously think something awesome is going to happen. I mean, they're so like, hello, like, we love to be here. We want to know everything. They're already trying to make phone calls when they're born. It's like, so there's something that we're at a turning point, but I don't necessarily think it's a terrible one because, like I said, look at the angels coming to Earth. They're the best crop ever.
I think it absolutely is a critical turning point. It started, well, a little more than 20 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And as these kids grow up and become, or they're of an age where they come into positions of power, or even they're parents, and their new way of being just trickles down through everything. So this change that we had to experience, it had a big job to do, and that's why it's been doesn't make any sense to a lot of people, but it had a big job to do, and that's what it's done. So not even to get into nitty-gritties or our opinions or anything, it's just like, it had a job to do, and now the kids are here already and they're going to change the way that we live. changed the way that humanity is.
Absolutely. And, you know, it all happened in 2020, which was, of course, opening the heart. And the heart chakra is where the ego comes to die. And we all had a lot of ego that we had things sorted. We knew what was going on. And then, of course, this incredible amount of change came in, and we had to go back into our hearts, into our homes. And I wrote in my forecast actually for that year that we would be spending a lot of time at home with the kids, and there would be a lot around the lungs and all this stuff. And it was, I mean, it's very easy to see that in the numerology, but the new children need us to be at home because they have all this vital information. And so we're seeing this huge rise in homeschooling. But yeah, I wanted to mention, so children have a big turning point at their parents' life path ages. So for example, my mum always wanted to run a business. She's at 26. At 26, I opened a business. Right. I never put it together. I never put it together till maybe the last few months. My dad's in broadcasting. He's a 32.5. And funnily enough, I was born when he was 32. I was his turning point when he had to like get a proper job, which was hilarious because he's a 5. He's like had so many fun things he did before then. Anyway, so he's a 32.5. So when I was 32, I got on media, on radio, and I went into broadcasting. And I never figured this out. So you can go backwards and you can go forwards. So if you look at your daughter's life path, that's actually a critical age for you as a parent. So the best possible thing people can do as numerology is to look at their whole family.
Yeah.
And look at the turning points and write up a big family history, and you'll see that you chose each other. Yes. And there's a lot of love that comes from doing this type of family tree. It's the family tree with all of the flowers and the vines and the monkeys. It's not just these little squares and circles that people call family trees. It's like the true tree of life comes forwards.
Oh, Sarah, that's so beautiful, because I think when people realize that there's deeper intricacy and meaning to everything that plays out in their life, because you can feel like it's been tough, but it's like, oh, there's purpose. And then I think when people realize what the reason behind everything is, and they start to see their parents as, oh, just a person like them, had their own things to address and live through, it just makes life a lot more calm, I think, understanding and more tolerant of each other. And it's really nice.
Yeah, and what I love, of course, is you teach numerology and you teach a version that's really easy to learn and really practical. It is a little different to what I do, but of course I do like 11 out of 10 deep end OCD type stuff. And I love how you put it together with this counselling course, because I think it's absolutely imperative that psychics have counselling experience. I think it is horrendous actually that people are going out there and they're being exposed to these stories of like abuse and suicide and infidelity, and they're not trained counselors. I mean, that's not so good for the psychic, and it's probably not so good for the client, and it's this kind of like half-assed thing. Yes, I as soon as I started doing palm readings and the stuff people were telling me, I went straight off and got myself into counseling. Because I wanted to protect my heart, I wanted to protect my energy, and I wanted to do the right thing. So I think it's really good that you put it all together. I think that's how it used to be taught in the ancient times.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. And I think I guess the thing with when people come for readings, or what I realized all those years ago, they're wanting direction, they're wanting counseling.
Yeah.
So to be able to incorporate the skill of counseling, which is basically not telling anyone what to do, but you're empowering them to really to take responsibility for themselves. But it's easy to say that, it means nothing. It's to give them enough courage to do what they need to do, or to see the good in themselves a lot of the time. So yeah, having it all blended in it's just powerful. And then also people will come along for it without feeling like they're messed up or something's wrong with them. It's like, there's nothing wrong, it's just life.
Yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of yoga. So when yoga was developed, you would do the asanas, the physical poses to calm the body. Then you would chant to calm the mind, and then you would meditate to calm the spirit and talk to your spirit. Yeah. And I like to do it like that, whether it's in that order or around that order. Yeah. And then, of course, you have people now where they're just doing the poses and then walking out of the class, or they're trying to meditate, but they haven't done the stretches and the chanting. And they're like, how come I can't meditate? I feel like I'm just going to go to sleep, or my mind won't stop. And I think Well, that's what happens when you only get 1 out of 3 courses. It was developed to be a philosophy and a lifestyle that you learn.
Right.
And I feel like the psychic sciences, we know that they were taught in temples. And we know that it was a lifestyle, and the people who did it, it was their calling. It wasn't just a weekend thing. And I hope that one day we will have these temples again. There's a few people running them, but of course there's a lot of society bias still. But I do think of the type of work you do as a type of temple work. Could you relate to that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, please don't take this the wrong way, because we joke about it, but I think that what's actually community comes from it then, but that whole commune thing where you have people coming in that are like-minded and sort of with the same ideology on life, it's powerful stuff. And I think
it's the only way to change the world. I mean, a lot of people think that one person alone can achieve, can conquer a mountain, but that's just marketing. It has to be said, there are groups in the universe who have different desires for the human race. Yeah. And once you actually see how many of them there are, maybe you'll start going to meetings, because honestly, we need that strength in numbers. We really do. And it's a myth to think that one really enlightened person can transform human history. To me, that really is the best marketing that's ever been done.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. We do need each other. And I think just because we're human while we're here, so we also need the support of people who we assimilate with and who we're in unison with. So it matters. And then of course that builds in energy and power, and we understand each other and feel understood, all of those things.
And you have some great people in your courses. I have made lifelong friends through the people I've met through you, and so many people know you. And I'm really grateful. Honestly, I'm so grateful for all.
I'm just tearing up. The people that come, they never cease to amaze me. They're just, I don't know what else I can say except special. It just attracts in just really beautiful people who sometimes they feel like for the first time they're understood, but yet there's a bunch of people in there that feel the same. It's amazing. And you can see why they're drawn to, or even if they don't understand why they've come along, but they're drawn to here because they're here to help as well.
I feel that it's a testament to the way you teach, the types of people you attract. And one of my great mentors, Vicky Haspels, who helped me get into the industry, is obviously a huge fan of your work. So Vicky was the one when I called around all the psychics in Brisbane. I just assumed they would help me because I was a charity fundraiser before that, and charities generally, they help each other out. They're like, well, how did you make that huge, get that huge donation? Because of course, it's to help the world. So I just called all the psychics and thought they would just tell me. I was so shocked, and I could not believe it. I'm like, it's what? Huh? It's like high school. It's like high school. They're like, oh, what? And I called Vicky, and she talked to me for an hour for free, and she's still one of my mentors. And I just thought, that's who I want to be. And then, of course, she was at the course with you. And when I walked in and saw her, I'm like, it's a sign. And she's been to heaps of your stuff.
She has. I probably made friends with Vicky. It's probably going on 15 years ago.
Well, she's a 6 as well, so there's that 11 relationship. But she is so divine. I have no words to speak. She has given me enormous love in my life. I really value her. Yeah. And so, like I said, she's obviously one of the people I've seen in your courses, and I've met many other people. So there's something special there. Yes. So tell us a bit. So you've got a course coming up. It's still a few months away, but we're trying to get in early because, let's face it, people are already looking for something to do next year. That's apart from scrolling through their Facebook feed. So can you tell us a bit about this course?
So the course is actually, I'm just about to finish with the 2021 group, which Vicky's part of.
Oh, how funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so perfect. She's probably just popped into my head because she's like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. She's so clever.
So she and a small group of, I like to call them colleagues, actually.
Including some of my clients, actually.
Yes. So they come in and the job this year was to convert everything so that it could be completely presented digitally. So on Zoom, live like we're talking now, but people can do it from anywhere in the world. So that was the goal this year, was to make it fully accessible.
Mobile.
Yeah. And globally available. So that happened. But next year is the intake of 2022. Such a special year.
Well, opening third eye chakra.
Yes, it's going to be
the ESP and vision, and it's the 6, which looks like a pregnancy, and it's a lot about giving comfort to people after all this sort of storm season. So it's actually, 6 is the number of the counselor, really. It's the parent figure, it's the mother, father, guardian of the galaxy. So I think a lot of people have had to change jobs for various reasons, and they're looking for an occupation where there's some kind of lifestyle benefit, where it's going to help their children or their relationships. And counseling work is good for everyone. Honestly, everyone benefits when someone gets that training, because that is the village elder. And then, of course, people want to gracefully age. They want to grow up. They want to take on responsibility because they see someone doing it and really flourishing.
Yeah.
It's to be that wise elder and not just kind of put in a chair somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. So I guess what people who would be drawn to this would be feeling is maybe they've always been, oh, I want to help people, but maybe they're in some sort of mainstream-ish role, and I assume that the trajectory of their life takes them until they get drawn to, well, some people will be drawn to this, then they can't stop the compulsion to explore it. So if they trust their intuition and they feel drawn, then amazing. But I think they will also know if they're not. But I
think they would even know just from watching this. Like,
I agree.
I work with all the 1111 seers, and I mean, part of that, which I write about, is that flip. So generally 1111 seers are skeptics. I mean, that's why Spirit is using numbers, because numbers are unarguable. I mean, when you see the patterns, it's 100%, like it's proof, it's hard data. Yes. And so they often do have a mainstream career, or even that of strong affinity for logic. And then when they flip, what's so fantastic about it, it's so clever, they bring a whole bunch of people with them. Because obviously in the mainstream, a lot of them are very successful, and at their core, they're often very spiritual. But when they flip, people go, Sarah became a palm reader, I need to see her. If only just to see like how crazy she is now. And so they bring people over, and I feel like a lot of people are now in the flip stage, and they think, well, I've got nothing to lose now to combine my spiritual beliefs and to come out into the open, especially if they have children and the children are saying, why do I see ghosts? I know my past life and I'm only 3. I hear those stories every single day, and those people are like, I need to go to school again.
It's so extraordinary, isn't it? So the 1111 are the ones that bridge the gap between soul and life, I believe.
Well, so, heaven and earth. I mean, 1111 is literally the temple gates. Yes. And the people who see that are part of essentially a squadron or a lineage. And they have actually come to pass down oneness. And so if they don't follow it, I often find there's a lot of anxiety and stress. Yes. Because deep down they have been called and they can't pretend they haven't.
Yes.
And then I just say go with it. Like, having done the journey myself over 10 years now, I wish I could have done it earlier, but I would have spontaneously combusted. So perhaps it's better I didn't. And I needed to be very in my ego, actually, because by being super in my ego, I developed, I worked at the highest levels of leadership. And I really thought that was the meaning of life. So now when I talk to people and they say, oh, I just want to be really important, I want to be prime minister, I'm like, I work with all those people. Let me tell you what they're like. Some of them are super amazing. A lot of them have really, really big fears, especially of spirit. A lot of them are afraid of dying. And I'm like, well, why do you think they're so big and important? They think that'll make them live longer, but it's not true.
No, that's the truth. And Sarah, that's funny, that's probably one of the key things that regression or recall does, is no matter who does it, whether they believe in it or not, that's what it eliminates for them, is that fear of death. I cannot
even tell you, I feel like that is the number one thing that we can give each other as humans, is to be able to look someone in the eye and say, you will go on.
Yes.
And I know for a fact.
Then you can live life.
Well, yes, you go out there, and I was singing a song today called Dust in the Wind by Kansas. It's such a spiritual song. And it talks about all we are is dust in the wind.
Yeah.
And I just think it's the greatest gift you could give another human, whether you do it through this type of work or through your own personal growth or whatever, but just to be able to look someone in the eyes and say, you get a second chance.
Yeah.
And I feel like it adds this level of fire to your desire to be here, and you just go, whatever it takes to figure out my purpose, I'm going to pay the price. I'm not going to keep looking for the free lunch. And yeah, that's what we need on the planet, don't you think? People who stop looking for the free lunch, stop looking for the shortcuts, and just pay the money to someone, who's getting a fair wage and join the picnic. Because honestly, people who are successful know there's a price.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's usually a high price, which you and I have had many conversations, haven't we, about women's work. And yes. When I met you always would talk to me about valuing myself, and I'd just be like, she's loopy. This woman is from another world, which is not mine. And then, of course, here I am going, she was right.
It's funny, isn't it?
The truth sticks around.
Yeah. It's for me too. Same thing. Sort of, it's still been a personal process as much as a professional one.
What I've discovered with money, and I've got all these webinars on it now, is it creates a willingness. And I think of it like the stairs to the temple. So there were these old temples where if you wanted to be healed by the healer there, you had to get up 100 stairs. And obviously that was pretty hard if you were sick. But they would say by the time you were there, like, you were half healed. And I feel like this is the same with not only money, but time and energy, and especially in the spiritual world. Without the regulation, money is an indicator of quality with other things considered, because it takes a lot of balls to charge for this work. There are so many people who will do it for free. I mean, I still get messages from people who can't believe I'm taking money for this. And I think, past life going on here.
Oh, yeah.
When you used to work in a temple and people used to like make your sandals and bring you chickens, you need to update. We have bank accounts now, lady.
Oh, and Sarah, also, you know what? The way I've seen it for a really long time is we're working in the psychology of now and the psychology of the future. And we're here living. We must survive. So we're in the Western world here. So
I think we have a responsibility, honestly, coming from a developing country, having lived in them, we have a responsibility to pay people appropriate wages so that we're not draining their life force and taking them away from their loved ones.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, I know we're starting to wind up, but when I started studying holistic counselling, I haven't done your diploma yet, but I'm very much looking at it. Oh my goodness, the woman who taught it, she is fierce. I love her. I really love her. And she charges the money. And then she says, after the first session, that's it, no refunds. And I just, in fact, it was a long time ago. I don't know if there's like laws now, but I remember thinking, what a woman. For a woman to do that and a woman healer to do that. And I just thought, she's either crazy or the best person I could ever learn from at this point in my life, because I just didn't know anyone else would put it on the line like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember someone went for one session and said it's not 2 sessions, I think, and it's not for me. And she's like, no refunds. And I was like, oh, I like you so much. I want this in me.
Yes.
And so I did. I paid the money, and I remember it was a lot of my savings. And I did the course. And I knew I was meant to do it because in that last assignment where we had to write our life history, my dad got cancer. So I had just been through a 9-month process to deal with grief. And then my dad got cancer. And the last assessment, I had the whole class supporting me. I still feel emotional. And he survived, but I think it's a sign. And I'm sure this happens in your course all the time,
yes,
that people would only come in, whether it's, their personal years or whatever. There's a reason.
Absolutely.
And, I have taken the leap many times now. I remember another time I put my life savings into a personal growth course. I started this business 13 years ago instead of buying a house. And there are still days I'm like, wish I'd bought a house. But you know what? I started this business. I went out there, did my first TV show, met my husband, met my twin flame.
Yes.
So I look people in the eye now all the time and I say, do it.
You
can always fix it up later. You know what I mean? Like, you can fix your hair after you've jumped off the cliff, but there is a cue.
There is.
And it's not like, especially the 1111 energy. So often when people start seeing it, they'll get an idea of a business, almost always a spiritual business This is a way I could help people, but also look after myself. Often there'll be like a child or partner involved, like coming in, and they dither. Some people dither. They're like, oh, it's too good to be true. And then what I find is it'll go to someone else, often someone they know.
Yes.
Because it happened to me. I got this idea for an 11:11 book, wrote it all down, decided not to go forwards with it. And then someone released the same book, same index page. And that's when I got it. I was like, they shop it around. They're not silly. They know it has to come into the earth. Yes. So I just say, look, if someone's going to do your course, there's going to be a fabulous reason for it.
Indeed.
I feel the same way about people who come to my courses. Yeah, and what I love the most is that type of person inspires the teacher.
Yes, they do. We always learn from each other every time, all of our students.
So is there anything about the course that people should know before they would potentially sign up? I know you do like a call to talk to them before they sign up, just to make sure
they can talk to me. Yes, absolutely. They can talk to me. There's a brochure, but even that's just a bit of a,
yeah, I actually all online. Mm-hmm. And what's your website again?
My website's TonyRileyInstitute.com. So on there, there's information, can get a brochure, can book a call with me. I feel like if you book a call with me, then you can totally suss me out, see if we resonate. I mean,
I'm pretty sure by watching this interview, they've seen a lot of your nuances. Yeah. Look, I've known you a long time, Tony, and what I'd say is you're very responsive. Like, you get back to people, you're thorough, you always give feedback. Those are a lot of the qualities I'm still developing myself. I think you're very fair. I think that you're very gentle and kind, and it's kind of surprising to find that in this industry. I see a lot of gurus. I've been in cults before. I don't know if I've told you that, but you know, I grew up in the church, and then I found I had this real kind of weak spot for people who were very authoritarian.
Yeah.
I have never found you to be like that. And I'm still like confused a bit. I'm like, why doesn't she boss me around? No. But then I've like I said, I've learned there's another way to help people.
I think so. And you know, one of the things that I notice as a pattern is the people who are here to be the counselors, for want of a better description, they one of the things that happens through their life path is there'll be self-doubt or confidence stuff that plagues them. And it's like, I will tell you all day, every day how good you are, because you are. It's just that getting to that belief is a thing. So that's what the counselors have. And it's just the most beautiful thing to help them realize it.
It's the most fulfilling thing I've done. I have no doubt that it has brought me, like I said, in touch with my partner, my children, myself. It is training, I think, that, you know, as many people should go through as they can with whoever is the right teacher for them. And look, a lot of people in the counselling field, you know, they upgrade their qualifications over time. I think that's really important too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, look, so we're going to start winding up. I wanted to say thank you for the generous amount of time you've spent.
Thank you for having me. I love talking to you, Sarah. I could talk to you all day. There's my and your 11ness.
Oh, yes. I am one of those people who can talk from the bottom of the ocean.
Oh,
it's probably because I have like 5 ones in my chart. And so I'm one of those people who has to go for like a daily trot, or I sort of get like little smoke plumes from the top of my head. But yes, thank you for showing me a different way of being that is a lot more gentle, genuine, humble, guided, and trusting. I didn't know that you could be that kind of adult or that kind of leader, and I've really learned that from you, Tony, and I'm really, really, truly grateful.
Oh, Sarah, thank you.
And yeah, I hope that we will chat again soon. So thanks everyone for hanging in there. I hope you've really enjoyed this talk. Definitely check out Tony's work. She's got lots of cool things that she does.
Yeah.
This has been Sarah from Seriep.com, Facebook, The Numbers Queen, and Instagram, Seriep1111, with another deep, hopefully funny and interesting interview with one of my favorite people. Okay, so we'll see you all next time. 1111 peace signs.
Ooh.